Boom! Welcome to another episode of Nobody Watching. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. While I consider myself to be reasonably well-read, moderately intelligent, fairly well-educated, and still actively learning, growing, and adapting, I'm not anywhere near close to what you might call a constitutional scholar. I'm not a lawyer. Sorry to disappoint. I consider a constitutional scholar to be someone who did the work, someone who has actually read and studied the Constitution, someone who has the capacity to understand how it began and how it has evolved into the guiding document that we hold, or at least used to hold, so dear. A constitutional scholar is someone who can interpret the document and help explain how the document should be applied to various situations where there is a question of law. It's not easy to find out how many constitutional scholars exist today. It didn't pop up in my Google search. But based on my basic understanding of human nature and how things work, I can almost guarantee that all the people who are spouting off about how this thing or that thing is infringing on their constitutional rights have very little knowledge of what the Constitution actually says or intends. Let's go ahead and poke that giant nest of bees that is wearing a mask during a deadly pandemic. I feel that the frailties of the human condition shine brightest when there is something completely stupid to rebel against. Medical professionals, again, those who have done the work and generally have an advanced understanding of what they are talking about, have repeatedly advised, nay, urged the world population to do their part to help limit the spread of a nasty virus by simply and properly wearing a mask, among other things. It's a mask. It's not even a full-blown gas mask made of rubber and such, which covers your whole head and makes you sound like Darth Vader, which I'm fairly certain some folks are working on hoarding right now. It's not a full bodysuit. It's a simple cloth mask. You can personalize it like anything else you wear. It's weird because it's not what we're used to, but it's easy and should be a compliance no-brainer. It's not like science says the only way to stop this virus dead in its track is to remove everyone's baby toe on their left foot, or something equally as creepy and invasive. And I sure hope it doesn't come to that, but if it does, I called it. It's not everybody, of course. For the most part, I believe most of us are trying really hard to get this right. But there are those out there. You know who they are, the loudest of the dopey, the shepherds of the thick. You see them on TV and in shopping malls brazenly and defiantly flouting the simple directive because they feel it is their right as a human American to do so, and forcing them to do something so simple for their own good and the good of others around them who are forced to tolerate their ignorance is against their constitutional rights. After checking a few resources, apparently a mandate to wear a mask does not pinch any of the rights provided to you by the Constitution, noting again that I am not an expert, but I could play one on TV. Still, these folks are headstrong and adamant that they are right, and they are willing to put it all on the line as they crawl up to others in an assault on common decency, inciting violence if as needed to prove their point. They don't know the Constitution any better than they know the list of ingredients on a bag of pork rinds. These appear to be sad, frightened, uninformed, misguided people who protect themselves by latching onto something that should be benign and attacking it with endless supply of hubris and vigor. Unfortunately, because of their selfish and impudent childlike behavior, the rest of the population has to suffer. At a minimum, it's embarrassing for everyone. These folks would be extremely valuable to all of society if they put that energy into fighting for something that really mattered to the greater good, because they appear to have no fear, will blindly follow whatever rhetoric they can absorb, and seem to have lots and lots and lots of free time. Look, if we can't handle a simple thing like wearing a mask or staying distant or whatever it is that is intended to keep us safe with a bit of grace, dedication, and humor, we're doomed should the feces really hit the proverbial fan. And really, leave the Constitution out of it, especially if you haven't read it or your argument for justifying your bad behavior is solely based on your saying that it's your constitutional right out loud. If that's the limit of your understanding, you've missed the entire point. Maybe direct some of that rage, fear, frustration, denial, and all that energy into something more useful like finishing the shelter for the zombie apocalypse. Or maybe, just maybe, take a look around and see where you might be able to help and do some good. Or at least do no harm. See you next time.